After long last, it is finally game week in Commanders Nation. Welcome in to the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. After a long offseason here, folks, after Jayden Daniels led this team to the NFC Championship game last year, that magical playoff run that we all experienced last year, we finally have a meaningful Washington Commanders game, and I can't wait for Sunday to get here, folks. Welcome into the show. We got a bunch of great content coming your way here, guys, surrounding Week 1 versus the New York Giants. First up here, my in-depth preview, Commanders versus Giants. I've got keys to victory. I got team trends. I've got coaching breakdown. I've got Russell Wilson scouting report for you guys. And, of course, my score prediction for Commanders versus Giants. That'll be first up on today's show. Then we'll get into my final record prediction for the Washington Commanders here in 2025, my official record prediction. I'm going to let you guys know exactly how many games I'm expecting the Commanders to win this season. And then we'll be taking your questions for one last time before we kick things off during the regular season here. I'll be taking your questions surrounding the Washington Commanders. If you guys got any questions whatsoever, you guys want to get on the show today for free, all you guys got to do is use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show. Ponzi, that graphic first there. Hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show here today. You guys know what to do if you're a real one here. You've been with us here all off season long. If you got a question, you want to get on the show, you get down there in the live chat. You guys put hashtag Commanders, and then right after that, you put in your question. So, for example, you get down there, you put hashtag Commanders. Will Washington beat the Giants this weekend? Or whatever question that you have. Ponzi's going to be able to see that, and we'll put it in the mailbag today. So if you guys got a question, make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders. Or if you want to guarantee that your question gets on the show today, you guys can super chat on today's show any dollar amount to guarantee that your question gets on the mailbag this afternoon. So let's bring on our producer here today. Mr. Ponzi is back. Ponzi, how you doing today? And what do you think is the percent chance that the Washington Commanders beat the New York Football Giants on Sunday afternoon?
You know, I'm doing great. It's another day closer to NFL season. You know, week 1, we've been waiting all off season. I'm really excited. I think a solid 90%. I'm feeling very strong.
90%. All right. So Marshall Green, our Giants host, would not like that too much there. But it sounds like Andrew Thomas might be a question mark to play on Sunday. And if he doesn't play, I think it's over. I think
it's over easily if Andrew Thomas doesn't play. Just because, you know, we saw last season when Andrew Thomas was out, the New York Giants offensive line was even worse than what they looked like on paper.
100%. They were very, very bad without Thomas out there, and he is very much expected to once again be their linchpin out there as their starting left tackle. So we'll see what the result is on Sunday. I would still give this a pretty high chance. You know, maybe not as high as 90 because it is a division game. I do think Thomas is most likely going to play. So I will give it, you know, an 80% chance. But, you know, these division games, especially in week 1, can be a little bit fickle. Of course, we saw last year the Commanders team was awesome last year, and they got ramrodded by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1. So we'll see how this Commanders team plays in week 1. I cannot completely rule out an upset, though, because it is a division game. The Giants actually played the Commanders really close last year, despite having some really probably a worse roster than what they have this year. So, you know, the fact that they were close with the Commanders last year makes me a little bit uneasy heading into this game, but I do think the Commanders should be the heavy favorites going in, which of course they are. But if you guys made it to today's live stream here, guys, and you're ready for week 1, type those me's down there in the chat if you would like a shout out to kick off today's show. I see Sandra Brown. I got Eli Hokies fan in there. Jasmine Gray, my lovely fiance Cassie Voth is here. We got Justin. We've got Sandra. We've got Electric Divergent. We got Richard Barker, Kenny Lewis. We've got Ken Gray. We got Nick Scully. We've got Billy Everett. We got Sting Points.
Interesting.
All right, so that's definitely crazy. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We need to get to at least 30 likes before we get into our first segment today. We're currently at 20 likes, so if you haven't already, take the half second, click that thumbs up icon. It really does help out the channel and the stream here, guys. Mr. C is here. We got Willie Washington here. We got Eli Hokies fan in here. We got Ebony Wright in here. We've got Richard Barker. Eli Hokies fans saying me. He's really putting in those me's right now. So shout out to Eli. We got Smug Jeremy. We got Heem Anthony. Says best content in the business. We appreciate that, Anthony. We try to do that for you guys. We got David Clark. He says he's from England. David, great to see you, man. Good day, man. No, that's Australian. That's Australian. We're not going to go there, but we appreciate you watching, David. Thank you so much. What time is it in England, by the way? It's got to be like, I don't know. I don't even know. It might be in the morning for all. Is it later or is it in the morning?
I think it might be in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So thank you so much, David, for stopping by here. We got Zubalin, we got Justin, and with that, we are now over 30 likes, so we can get into our first segment of the day here. First up, Week 1 versus the New York Football Giants. I got my in-depth preview for you guys. It's officially preview season here on the Commanders Report. Also, my final record prediction is coming up after the preview, and then we'll get to your questions to finish out the Week 1 live show here, guys. So thank you so much for joining us here this beautiful Wednesday evening to talk some Commanders football. And with that, let's get into our first segment of the day here, my in-depth Week 1 preview, Commanders versus Giants. It's all coming at you guys right now. It's officially preview season here on the Commanders Report, and this week it is our first preview of the year as the New York Giants travel to Landover, Maryland this weekend here to take on the Washington Commanders in the season opener. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and this week we are doing a sub-battle with our friends, our frenemies, I should say, in the Giants Now crew. Giants Now is our Giants channel here at Chat Sports, and Marshall Green, their host, has challenged us to a new subscriber battle. So whichever channel can add the most new subscribers this week before the start of the game is going to win this battle, guys. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And new viewers, we are counting on you guys. All the real ones that are already subscribed to the channel can't help us out here. It's only new subscribers. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, it takes a half second of your time. Help us beat the New York Giants off the field before the Commanders beat them on the field this weekend by clicking that subscribe button for in-depth Commanders coverage every single day for free right here on YouTube. All right, so now let's get into it, man. Landover, Maryland, here on Sunday, Week 1. It's going to be a very, very highly anticipated Week 1 matchup here because obviously it's a divisional matchup here. The New York Giants coming in with a new quarterback, Russell Wilson, versus Jayden Daniels and this Commanders team, who obviously went to the NFC Championship game last year, won 2 road playoff games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions, respectively. And there's a ton of expectations on the Burgundy and Gold heading into this season. Right now, the Commanders are favorited by pretty much a touchdown here going into the game, and the odds makers feel like it's going to be a pretty average scoring game in terms of the points scored. 45.5 is currently the over-under on the game. But before we get into the Giants coaching breakdown and the Russell Wilson scouting report and all the stuff that we're going to be talking about on today's show, the injury that you guys need to keep your eye on this week is Giants left tackle Andrew Thomas, who of course suffered a Liz Frank injury last year. That's in his foot, and he is still dealing with some of these question marks surrounding his foot heading into Week 1 here versus the Washington Commanders. He was a limited participant in practice on Tuesday, so we'll see the progression as he goes throughout the week here, but he's still kind of getting back from that Liz Frank injury that he suffered in Week 5 last year that took him out for the rest of the 2024 season here in the National Football League, and he hasn't really been participating in practices all that much throughout camp. So we'll see if Andrew Thomas is ready to go, but if he can't go, that's going to make things a lot easier on the Washington Commanders pass rush because Thomas is one of the best left tackles in the National Football League. If he can't go, it's going to be James Hudson, who does have some starting experience with the Cleveland Browns, who would be the starting left tackle if Thomas is out. But let's face it, guys, Hudson is a major downgrade to Andrew Thomas and would make things a lot easier for the Commanders on defense if he's not out there, especially with Russell Wilson, a quarterback that likes to hold the football. And like I said, guys, if Thomas can't go, it should be a pretty easy win for the Washington Commanders this week. A big part of the Giants' game plan is going to be to keep Russell Wilson clean and create run lanes for Tyrone Tracy, their running back. And if you don't have Andrew Thomas out there, it's going to be a lot more difficult to be able to do those two things. So it really is important for him to be on the field if the Giants are going to pull off the upset upset, so you got to keep your eye on this injury as we approach game day on Sunday. Now we can transition here to the coaching breakdown for the New York Giants. The head coach is Brian Daboll, who currently has an 18-32-1 regular season record as the head coach of the New York Football Giants. So obviously not fantastic, but he does have a playoff win under his belt, of course, and a NFL Coach of the Year trophy, so keep that in mind. But the offensive scheme that they run is a modern pro spread offense, kind of inspired by the Erhardt-Perkins kind of spread offense that they ran in New England for all those years. And, of course, Daboll calls the plays himself there in New York. And then on defense, they run kind of a Belichick-inspired 3-4 defense with lots of different blitz packages. They like to run a lot of cover one here, and Shane Bowen is the guy that is manning the helm on defense here in New York. You can take a look at the Giants' offense heading into the year. Russell Wilson is their new starting quarterback, and the guys to protect him, he's got Andrew Thomas at left tackle. You got John Runyon there at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Greg Van Roten at right guard, and then Jermaine Illuminor. Very similar group as it was to start last season. They're hoping for a little bit of a step forward from this group here in 2025. But then at the skill positions, you got Malik Neighbors as the number one receiver. He is a dynamic threat with the football, both in his route running and his vertical threat ability, but also with the ball in his hands. Darius Slayton is more of a designated deep threat type of guy. Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo are going to be your number one and number two running backs. They also have Motor Singletary in here and in that running back room as well. And then Theo Johnson is their starting tight end heading into the year. Then you get to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line. You got Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Darius Alexander. We'll see how much we see from him. He's a rookie out of Toledo. But we could see Nunez Roches quite a bit as well. And then you got Abdul Carter and, of course, Kayvon Thibodeau, who is going to be in the mix as well. So, you got to keep your eye on Thibodeau because he's going to be playing a lot in this football game. And also Roy Robertson Harris is going to be playing quite a bit as well. I expect a pretty healthy rotation along the defensive line here in week one. And Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be playing a really big part of that. They're going to be moving Abdul Carter around quite a bit, guys. So they're going to put Thibodeau and Burns on either side of the defensive line here. And then they're going to be putting Carter over the ball. They might even play him a little bit at off-ball backer. Carter is kind of like that Micah Parsons kind of versatile type of linebacker. He can move them all around. So Kayvon Thibodeau is certainly going to be playing quite a bit in this football game. And if you get into third and long, just forget about it because this pass rush is going to get after you. But then you get to the off-ball backer position here. Bobby Okereke and then Micah McFadden are going to be the two inside linebackers for this Giants defense this year. They're okay. It's not a special group of linebackers, but they're certainly capable of getting the job done. And then in the secondary, Paulson Adebo is going to be pretty much their number one outside corner. Drew Phillips, the second-year guy out of Kentucky, is going to be their number two guy on the outside in their base formations, but then their slot corner in their nickel sets. You got Javon Holland, an excellent free safety for them, and they got Tyler Nubin, a second-year player out of Minnesota, as a really solid, strong safety. Deontay Banks or Cordell Flott is going to be their number three corner. Actually, I think Flott might have the inside road to play here in week one. Deontay Banks has once again not had a good training camp, and he may have lost that other starting cornerback job to Cordell Flott. So we'll see who the Giants put out there on Sunday. But still to come here on the Commanders Report preview, keys to victory versus the Giants. I got 8 of them this week, guys. All right, then I got Russell Wilson's scouting report, everything you need to know about the Giants starting quarterback and how to stop them. And then we'll get into my week one, not my week two, my week one score prediction here for the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. All that is coming up here on the Commanders Report preview. But before we get into the rest of this week's preview for the Washington Commanders, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Prize Picks. And you and I make decisions every single day. We all know this, all right? What to have for breakfast, what to have for lunch, what to wear in the morning. But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. This week it's week one, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in for the season opener on Thursday, all the way through Monday Night Football. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a brand new feature that I love from PrizePicks is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game with an injury in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss against your lineup. So you guys can take a look here at my Thursday night season opener lineup that I'm going to be putting out on PrizePicks here. I'm taking the more on the passing yards for Dak Prescott. That's essentially a free play, guys, because it's only a half passing yard there. I'm going to take the more on George Pickens receiving yards, the less on Jalen Hurts passing yards, and the more on Saquon Barkley rushing yards. You guys can download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with PrizePicks today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the free PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So now getting into my keys to victory here, I think, what we have to start with here, guys, is you got to start fast, all right, versus this New York Giants team. Because if you get behind on against these guys early in the game and you're down multiple scores and you have to pass the football a lot in the second half of games and the defense knows you have to pass the football, this pass rush, which is really great, guys, you got Sexy Dexy there in the middle. You got Abdul Carter that they can move around. You've got Brian Burns, one of the best speed rushers in football. If you're in a situation where you got to pass the football and the Giants know you got to pass the football, this pass rush can just pin their ears back and they're going to get home, all right? So the Commanders need to do a good job managing the early portion of this game so that they can maintain some of that, elusiveness, so to speak, some of that shroudedness, that ability to run and pass as opposed to just having to pass the football for the entire second half of the game. And really, guys, the winner of the first quarter or maybe even the first half is probably going to win this football game because the team, I think, that has to pass the football the most in the second half of this game is probably going to be the one that ends up losing it. So if you start fast, you can get a 2-score lead sometime in the first half here or in the first quarter would be ideal. I think that this game would be pretty much done for the New York Giants. Then we get to what the Commanders need to do on defense here against Russell Wilson, and pretty much what you need to do is just make him work. Make him hold on to the football because he will do that. All right, you take a look at Russell Wilson's scouting report. I currently have him ranked as my 23rd ranked quarterback heading into the year. He's still a decent starting quarterback. He's not a top 20 guy anymore, but he can still sling it down the field. He still has one of the best deep balls in the league, supreme accuracy to all three levels of the field still. He protects the ball extremely well, but there's certainly cons to his game as well. He still relies a lot on scrambling, even though he's not the athlete that made him a perennial MVP candidate in his prime. So he takes a lot of sacks. He holds on to the football a lot. If that first read isn't there for him, he tends to panic. And there's a lot of negative plays on Russell Wilson's film, even though he doesn't throw a lot of turnovers, all right? So this is certainly a vulnerable quarterback that you can get on the ground, especially if Andrew Thomas is not available in this football game. He will hold the football, so you got to make sure you get home and put him on the ground if he tries to scramble. Then we get to Malik Neighbors. And, a big part of the defensive game plan for the Commanders should be to take away Neighbors because he's going to be Russ's number one option on most plays, okay? And as we discussed here, if the Commanders can take away Russell Wilson's first read, he really tends to break down, all right? But if Malik Neighbors can kind of cook Marshawn Lattimore, who's going to be tasked with going up against Neighbors in this football game, then that's when the Giants can creak through here and potentially get the upset and put up lots of points in this football game. So that's the big question, right? How good and how limited can Malik Neighbors be when Marshawn Lattimore is on him? Last year, Lattimore kind of got cooked, frankly, in a couple of these games, specifically against A.J. Brown. And, he was dealing with a hamstring injury that is now 100% healthy. So hopefully Lattimore, who's one of the best bump and run corners, or at least has been over the last several seasons in the National Football League, is going to be ready to go because Neighbors, man, he can run routes. He's really good after the catch. He's got fantastic body control and hands to make crazy catches down the sideline and in the red zone. He will be one of the tougher covers for Marshawn Lattimore the entire season. So you got to be able to take him away so that this pass rush can get Russell Wilson on the ground. Then we get to the offensive side of the ball here where the Commanders need to establish the run game, okay? I think that this is going to be particularly important because, like we said, this pass rush for the New York Giants is really freaking good. So if you're passing the ball too much in this game, that's going to mean more pressure for Jayden Daniels Daniels, which is going to lead to more sacks, potentially more turnovers. And that's not the world that you want to live in, all right? The way to beat the Giants is to run the football on them. And last year, this is how the Commanders were able to put them away in their second game of the season when Chris Rodriguez Jr. Was able to have a hell of a fourth quarter and put that team away. So look out for Austin Eckler. Look out for Bill Krosky-Mayer. Look out for Chris Rodriguez Jr. to be able to go in there, especially later in the game, and put the Giants away. But another aspect on early downs and early in the game that I want the Commanders to focus on here is Deebo Samuel. He's one of the best receivers in the league on jet sweeps, orbit motions, wide receiver screens, which we know offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury loves to run. So Deebo is one of the most dynamic threats after the catch in the National Football League. He can be an early down weapon for this offense. And with that pass rush coming after Jayden Daniels, I think it's important to get the ball out of JD's hands fast and get the ball to Deebo out in space. But then, when the Giants do give you opportunities to throw deep and the protection holds up, you got to set up some shots, specifically on play action to Terry McLaurin. With all due respect to Paulson Adebo, who's a decent number 2 corner, he's not going up against Terry McLaurin one-on-one and winning, all right? So if you can set up some deep shots here, make the Giants pay for playing too aggressively, that is going to be something that helps out the run game. It helps out the wide receiver screen game on early downs as well. You got to make sure the Giants are not playing too aggressively too often, and that they have to respect the Commanders' deep passing game. Then we get to the offensive line, and the matchup that I'm really going to be watching out for here, guys, is the rookie matchup on the right side of the Commanders' offensive line. Abdul Carter, the rookie out of Penn State, is going to be going up against rookie out of Oregon here. That is Josh Connerly Jr. So Abdul Carter is going to be somebody that is probably going to be a really good pass rusher in this league, guys. He's been reportedly just destroying people at Giants training camp, and he's going to be a force, and he's going to be lining up all over the place. But for most of the time, I believe he's going to be lining up over Josh Connerly Jr., the starting right tackle and first-round pick for the Washington Commanders. Now, both of these guys did play each other in the Big Ten championship game last year when Oregon played Penn State, and Connerly, I think, actually won that matchup. But Connerly, at the time, was playing left tackle. Now he's playing a new position at right tackle, so it will be definitely interesting to watch that matchup unfold once we get to Sunday here between these two rookies. So really excited to see those two face off, because obviously 2 first-round picks, 2 very high-end talents. They're going to be going up against each other quite a bit over the next decade or so, or at least we hope. So that is definitely going to be a matchup to keep your eye on. But then another thing the Commanders need to do here is win the turnover battle and not beat themselves in general. Like, don't be the more penalized team. Don't turn the football over multiple times where the Giants don't. This is clearly a pretty big talent differential when you just look at the rosters, okay? And if you allow the Giants to get a strip sack or 2 or get an interception or, completely obliterate the Commanders in the penalty game, like, those are the ways that, an inferior team can creep back into a football game, and I don't want that to happen, all right? So I really do not expect this to be necessarily an easy fight. It's week 1 against a divisional opponent that played the Commanders really tough twice last year. You can make an argument the Giants should have won both the games that the Commanders played against them last year, but they kind of shot themselves in their own foot in both of those matchups. But the Giants, man, like, Russell Wilson is a lot better than Daniel Jones, who was their quarterback last year, or any quarterback that they were trotting out there, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, anybody like that. Russell Wilson is an adult that protects the football. He can be dangerous throwing the ball down the field, and Malik Neighbors can be quite dangerous as well. So, and that's not even mentioning what this pass rush can do. So I'm hoping the Commanders can get off to a fast start. For me, I think that this game will be closer than people expect, but I am going to go with the Washington Commanders to win this football game by a final score of 23-21. We'll see how good Terry McLaurin is after missing most of training camp here. He has had 2 weeks of practice, so hopefully he's going to be able to hit the ground running. We'll see how the run game looks without B-Rob leading the way. But I do think that the Commanders, one way or another, will be leaving Northwest Stadium with a victory here in week 1. It just might be a little bit more difficult than some Commanders fans are hoping for heading into Sunday. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the final score of Giants versus Commanders. I'm going 23-21 Commanders win. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for this week's preview here on the Commanders Report. We're going to be going live for this game coming up later in the week here on Sunday. Our first watch party of the year. It's going to be absolutely electric, guys. Our coverage is going to be starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so an hour before the game kicks off. We also are going to have post-game reactions to that game. We're going to be having previews, watch parties, and post-game reactions to every single Commanders game this year. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate your guys' support. Until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. First segment in the books here, Mr. Ponzi. Coming up next, we've got my final record prediction for the Washington Commanders this season. Now, spoiler alert, you already got a spoiler alert for the first game. I'm picking the Commanders to win week 1 here, and I'm actually going to give you guys another spoiler here. I think they're going to sweep the New York Football Giants this year. Once we get to that second game, I believe it's in week 15, I think Jackson Dart is going to be their quarterback, and I don't think he's going to win that football game. All right, so I think that the Giants, their best chance to beat the Commanders will be on Sunday. Week 1, teams are still trying to figure themselves out, all that different stuff. It wouldn't shock me necessarily if the Giants actually pulled off the upset, but I am expecting the Commanders to win that. Like I said, Ponzi, I'm giving it about a 75 to 80% chance, but there is still that, fleeting hope for the G-men to go in there and upset the Washington Commanders.
Sorry about that. Looking at it in a different perspective, like going off of my 90%, the only reason why I say it is that because the Giants, at the end of the day, I feel like they have this just like negative energy in them. And I feel like, when's the last time they won a week 1 game? Was it 3 years ago?
2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Maybe.
But if you look at the record, they do not get off to good starts. And, you could say the quarterback play, having Daniel Jones as your quarterback, but choosing Daniel Jones as your quarterback certainly does have something to do with that. However, I do think that, regarding how the Commanders are, I think the Commanders got a lot better in the ways that they were weak last year, shoring up the offensive line, shoring up the defensive back area, and getting the pass rush even better with the additions of Von Miller. And, it's definitely going to be one of those where I would not be surprised if the Commanders lose, but I'm very confident in the Commanders going into Sunday.
Yeah, I think they're going to win. We'll see. I do think if they win the first quarter, they win the game.
Exactly.
I think the Giants' only hope is that they start fast, they're in the game in the fourth quarter, and then Russell Wilson puts together a clutch drive. That's kind of their winning formula heading into the week, and it's a pretty narrow path to toe because the Commanders are the better team. I don't think that there's any doubt about that, but I think the run game, how good this run game looks week 1 is going to be a big factor in this football game. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, man. Okay, so make sure you guys get your questions in. We have one more segment to go here before the mailbag, but hashtag Commanders. If you got a question, how many questions do we have right now, Ponzi? How are we doing on questions?
So far, I see about 15, 17.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're in a good spot with questions here, guys. But if you want to get your question in, it's not too late. You can still get it in by getting those hashtag Commanders down there in the comment section. Ponzi's going to be picking the best ones, so make sure you put a good question in there. It seems like there's some competition, but if you guys want to get a comment on the show, a question on the mailbag, you guys can put those hashtag Commanders down there in the live chat. But without further ado here, guys, it's my final record prediction for the Washington Commanders this year. Last year, I was way off, Ponzi. I think I predicted 8 wins maybe for the Commanders because I thought the offensive line in the cornerback room were not going to be very good at all, and they really weren't. But I wasn't expecting Jayden Daniels to be as good as he was in year 1. I wasn't expecting the best rookie season in team history. I was expecting him to look good and to carry this team at times and have flashes, but also to have his rookie bumps and his bruises and to not be a legitimate superstar year 1. So I think you can forgive me for that. But now we know what Jayden Daniels is, and it's going to be a fun season. Here's how I think it's going to play out. Today on the Commanders Report, I reveal my final 2025 Washington Commanders record prediction. This is how I believe the Commanders season will go here in 2025. Of course, stick around to the end to see my final record projection for the Burgundy and Gold. And before we get into the video today, man, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you want Washington to win the NFC East. We all know that there hasn't been a repeat champion in this division for over 20 years at this point. We can't let the Eagles repeat and break that chain, man. We got to get in there, click that thumbs up icon if you want to win the NFC East division here in 2025. And make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's video to see if I project the Commanders to win the division this year. So we'll start here with week 1 versus the New York Giants. All right, I'm taking them to win that football game. All right, we actually have a full in-depth preview of this football game on our channel right now. If you guys want to check that out, I go into everything from the coaching breakdown and the scheme breakdown to injuries that you need to be watching out for, to a Russell Wilson scouting report, keys to victory, and my official score prediction. I do pick the Washington Commanders to win that football game, so make sure you guys check out our full in-depth preview to get yourselves ready for Sunday. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who do you got in week 1 here in the season opener? Type WAS if you think the Commanders, as heavy favorites, beat the New York Football Giants, or if you think the Giants come into Landover and upset the Commanders here in week 1, type NYG down there in the comments. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, YouTube is going to throw you an ad break. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know who you think wins here in week 1. But then you got short week on the road versus a very talented Green Bay Packers team. I think that game is very much a toss-up. I think Jayden Daniels has shown us, especially in those primetime games, that he can be a really special player, especially in the clutch. So if it's close, I think the Commanders have a shot. But plain and simply, man, like the Green Bay Packers, super talented team, really well coached. You got Micah Parsons in there now, really good pass rush. They got some really explosive weapons in their wide receiver room now. They got a really good run game. They're just a really complete football team, man. So unless Jordan Love throws multiple picks, which is possible against the Washington Commanders defense, I'm going to go with Green Bay to eke out a close one there in Titletown. But then in week 3, I'm going to have the Commanders beat the Las Vegas Raiders. That defense is absolutely terrible. Would not surprise me if the Commanders score 40 or more points in that football game at home. Then in week 4, traveling to Atlanta. I don't think the Falcons are going to be kind of the breakout team that some people are projecting them to be. I don't think their defense is all that great. I think Michael Penix Jr. showed some inaccuracies last year, and he doesn't provide you anything out of structure. I just don't think that team is going to be all that great this year. So even on the road, I have the Commanders beating them. But then in week 5, I have them taking the second loss of the year to the Los Angeles Chargers. A really physical football team with really good play in the trenches. I know they lost Rashawn Slater, their starting left tackle, but I just think that team and their mentality, they just beat you up. Plus, you're on the road there. I think Justin Herbert's a hell of a quarterback, a top 7 quarterback in the league. I think that the Chargers, defend their home turf there with a win. But then in week 6, I'm going to have the Washington Commanders beat Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Bears on Monday Night Football, getting back in the win column there. I just don't think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are going to be quite there yet. I think that they're probably still a year away from really being on the level of, say, a Washington Commanders. I know last year they almost upset Washington at home, and the Commanders needed to have a Hail Mary, successful Hail Mary just to beat them. But this year, I continue to have belief in the Washington Commanders that they're going to come away with that dub. Then week 7 on the road in Dallas. After before my previous projections here, I've had the Dallas Cowboys winning this football game. But now with Micah Parsons out of town, I mean, that's just too big of a talent leaving. Kenny Clark is not a big enough talent to replace him. I think that the Commanders are going to win that game on the road in week 7. So that is pretty easy one right there. Then we get to week 8, where I've got the Commanders losing to the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That's another toss-up game to me, though, guys. Like, the Commanders, I believe, can absolutely go toe-to-toe with any team in the National Football League on any given week, and that includes the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on the road at Arrowhead Stadium. But that's a tough place to play. That's a team that has been in a lot of close games and have won, especially in that building. So if I have to project it right now, I have to give it to Kansas Kansas City. And then in week 9, second straight loss in a row to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. The Commanders are going to be coming off a short week going up against the Seattle team that's coming off a bye. So they have extra time to prepare for the Washington Commanders. I think that that's going to be one of the more disappointing losses of the season. But then, after that, things I think really turn up. In week 10, I think they beat a really good Detroit Lions team at home. They were able to beat that team on the road in the playoffs last year. Even though this time they're going to have Hutchinson, they're going to be trying to get that revenge for taking them out of the playoffs last year. I do have the Commanders winning that matchup in a close one in week 10. And then you get to week 11, where I have the Madrid game there. I'm going to have them win. That's a game that is losable. Tua Tagovailoa in a warm weather climate. We all know he can play his best football in that type of climate there. We'll see if Miami is still in the mix at that point during the NFL season. But I think the Commanders have the better team. I will project them to win. So at the bye, I am projecting that the Commanders are sitting with a 7-4 record, very respectable, heading down the stretch. And coming up here on the Commanders Report, I'm going to be getting into my post-bye record prediction, the rest of the games down the stretch. How do I think the Commanders will do? I'm going to answer that question here in just a second. But first, we have this awesome Commanders t-shirt that is on sale right now when you use our link, chatsports.com/WAS Week 1. It's right down there in the comments and description of today's show. This t-shirt is $15 off right now. Get it before Week 1. Get it before Week 2. Whatever the case may be there. Go to chatsports.com/WAS Week 1 to take advantage of our Week 1 sale item here when you use our link, chatsports.com/WAS Week 1. Again, that link is down there in the comments and description of today's show. When you click that link and you make a purchase, part of the proceeds go back to us here at the Commanders Report. So if you guys want to get this awesome Commanders t-shirt in your closet today, go chatsports.com/WAS Week 1. Click that link, make a purchase, and help out the show. Then we get into my mistake here. This is actually week 13, I believe, after the bye versus the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos are a really good team. They got a really good defense, really good offensive line, but I'm going to go with the talent of Jayden Daniels over Bo Nix there at home, coming off of a bye. I believe in this coaching staff. I believe in Jayden Daniels to get this win here versus the Broncos. Then in week 14 on the road in Minnesota, I'm going to have the Commanders win that game as well. Not an easy place to play. US Bank Stadium can get very, very loud. J.J. McCarthy is going to have a lot of reps under his belt at that point in the year. If he's playing well, that's a very losable football game for the Washington Commanders. But I do think that J.J. will have his rookie lumps this year. I believe in Jayden Daniels' ability to pick apart a Brian Flores defense, and I think they come away with the victory there in week 14. In week 15, I'm going to have the Commanders get the sweep over the New York Football Giants. I think at that point in the year, it'll be Jackson Dart in there. I think that he's going to have some of those rookie types of lumps as well. Not sure if he's ready to take that Giants roster to a win over the Commanders. I'm going to take the Burgundy and Gold to win there in week 15. And then yet another win here in week 16 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. You're at home in that football game. I'm kind of thinking that Saquon Barkley might be banged up by that point in the season. So getting the Eagles at the end of the year, I think, is a really good thing for the Washington Commanders here. It's obviously a marquee matchup for this team. You gotta, if you want to win the division, you got to beat the team that's at the top. The Eagles are currently that team. I think this is the time that they get their victory. Then I think they do get the season sweep over the Dallas Cowboys here. You are going 4 straight divisional matchups to finish out your season, but unfortunately, I'm not going to go with the clean sweep in that Final Four stretch there. I will have them lose the season finale versus the Philadelphia Eagles. If that's for the division, I think that the Eagles probably end up grabbing it, but you know what? I'm not counting out the Commanders here. I'm going to have the Commanders finish with a 12-5 record, and I believe that will be enough to win the division. Part of the reason why I have the Commanders losing to Philly in the season finale is because I think they may already have the division locked up heading into that football game. So for me, guys, my prediction is the Washington Commanders will win the NFC East over the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. I think after a season where he touched the football more than than any other skill player in the league. Saquon Barkley's body is not going to be able to hold up another full season, and I think that the Commanders are going to be able to get the most wins in this division this year, crowning themselves NFC East champions. Now, in terms of the range that I could realistically see this season going, I think, I could see a wide range of outcomes here, all right? I could see a scenario here where, the defense underperforms, the offensive line isn't very good, the run game, underperforms with B-Rob out of this room, and, it's a tough schedule, and you win 9 games. I think that's the absolute pit of the earth floor for this football team, where you're still in the playoff hunt. I think that's the very worst case scenario for this team. But then again, I think the ceiling is 14 wins. That would probably get you the number 1 seed in the NFC if you're able to get that here, guys. And, I think that this team is more than capable of it. You got a great quarterback in Jayden Daniels, who I'm going to pick to win league MVP this year. You got an offensive line with a lot of really promising stuff on there. When Sam Cosmi gets back, this is a really complete unit, in my opinion. You got a defense that is much improved with a new and improved cornerback room. I'm a big believer in this Washington Commanders team, guys. I'm picking them to win the NFC East and to get 12 wins once again here in 2025. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. What will be the Commanders' record this season? They won 12 games last year, but it's a tougher schedule this year. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. I'm going 12-5. Let me know your record prediction down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. I'm super excited for the start of this season, guys. If you're with me on that, you want free, informative, in-depth Commanders coverage on this channel every single day, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. All right, Ponzi, so we'll give people 2 minutes here. 2-minute shot clock to get your questions in for the mailbag, and then we'll get into our mailbag segment here, guys. Eon says, wait, the Eagles probably won't have starters for Week 18. Listen, man, I'm telling you, Ponzi, people are just assuming that Saquon Barkley is going to stay healthy for another full season. And, not only is he approaching 30, but he also has a very extensive injury history. And if you look at the history of the last, 4, 5, 6 rushing leaders in the NFL, the following season, their bodies just can't hold up. I think that the chances of Saquon Barkley getting injured by, mid-season are very high. Very high, all right? And if that happens, I don't think Jalen Hurts is a good enough quarterback to carry that offense. I really don't.
That might be the take of the century. Chase Senior over here, who does our Eagles channel for Chat Sports, might disagree with you on that. But
well, that's fine. That's fine.
Obviously, I think the whole problem with Jalen Hurts is that he's a great quarterback with a running back, as everyone is. You have a running game, you're a great quarterback automatically.
Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Jared Goff. Look at all these guys with great run games. Look at Brock Purdy.
Exactly. So I feel like, regarding, being able to elevate your team, I just don't know if Hurts has that. And, as you mentioned, I think that with the Eagles roster, there's a lot of pieces that are gone, too, that were kind of sneaky pieces. Josh Sweat's gone. Mekhi Becton's gone. A lot of these guys who were a part of their interior on the defensive line and offensive line.
Milton Williams.
Exactly.
Big part of their defensive line last year, gone.
Darius Slay. All these, the corners, obviously, Darius Slay, I think, took a step back last season.
No, I think he was good. I think he was really good. I think he was top 25 in the league in PFF grade last year.
Which, that says more about Darius Slay than anything else. But I think, regarding the Eagles' losses this year, I don't know if they did enough to get it back.
I mean, they still have a great roster. On paper, they still look great. You know what I'm saying? They still have, on paper, a good offensive line, great weapons. They still, they're expected to be the number 1 rushing offense in the league. Once again, they're expected to be a top 3 defense in the league. Yet again, and I do think their defense, Ponzi, gets them in the conversation, right? Even if Saquon Barkley goes down, I think their defense, mixed with Jalen Hurts and those weapons that they've got there, still good enough to get you to 9, 10, 11 wins maybe. But, the dominance that we saw from them, 14-0 with Jalen Hurts starting and finishing a game after the bye last year, unbelievable stuff. If Saquon's not there, that will not be the same Eagles team, plain and simply. All right, so yeah. I really do think that the Commanders are going to win the division this year. I know that's a hot take because the Eagles were the Super Bowl champions last year, and it's like sacrilegious to say that the Eagles are going to take a step back this year, but I just don't see Barkley staying healthy.
And, obviously, if you believe in it, I believe in it personally. The Madden curse. Saquon Barkley did don the cover of Madden. So I think, regarding that whole team, I would not be surprised if they have a back year, and I'll still think they'll make the playoffs. I think they make the playoffs quite easily, but I don't know if they get the division this year, as you mentioned.
100%. $5 from Sandra Brown. Appreciate you, Sandra, for the 5. If you got a question, make sure, Ponzi, if she has a hashtag Commanders, to get it into the mailbag here. Did we get any more supers? I don't think we did.
I don't believe so.
All right, so appreciate you, Sandra, for the $5 super chat. With that, let's get into our Week 1 mailbag here for your Washington Commanders. It looks like we got a lot of questions down there, so big shout-out to all the real ones putting in those questions. Can't wait to answer them here on the mailbag, so without further ado, let's get into it here, Mr. Ponzi. He's getting it ready. Come on, Ponzi, let's hurry it up now. All right, he's got it. Let's get into it right now. It's my favorite segment of the week, the Commanders Report mailbag, where I'm answering your questions on the Washington Commanders as this team prepares to take on the New York Football Giants on Sunday in Week 1 of the NFL season. Welcome into the show, guys. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button to join the most interactive community for Commanders fans anywhere on YouTube. We will be going live for the Commanders game versus the Giants here on Sunday. We'll have a post-game reaction show. Of course, we'll have an hour of pregame coverage for that as well. It's going to be a great time, man, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button. We also give you guys free daily and informative Commanders content on this channel every single day. So if you guys want daily updates on the Washington Commanders as they look to hoist yet another Lombardi Trophy in franchise history, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Got one from Smallfish16. Says, who's the RB1? It's anyone's guess, Small Fish. Now, if you listen to the depth chart, it's Austin Ekeler. And I do think Ekeler probably starts the season getting the most touches, all right, and probably the most snaps. But you take a look at the running back order, at least according to the depth chart that the team put out this week. Austin Ekeler is RB1. Jerry McNichols is RB2. Chris Rodriguez Jr. is RB3 with Bill Krosky-Merritt all the way down at RB4. But at practices this week, Austin Ekeler was taking number 1 running back reps, but then Bill Krosky-Merritt was second in the lineup. All right, so I expect to still see Bill sometime this weekend versus the Giants. I think he will have some sort of role with this team as a part of a committee. I think we'll see Ekeler, Merritt, and a little bit of McNichols and Rodriguez out there given the situations and given the fatigue level of all these guys. I think part of the reason why they have all 4 of these guys on the roster is because they want to keep each other fresh throughout the season so that once you get to the end of season there where you're playing the Eagles twice, where you're playing divisional opponents in all 4 of your final games, those are going to be a very, very important stretch for this team. You want to have your guys fresh. Whoever the best 2 running backs on this team are at that point, you want those guys to be fresh. So that's why I think they're kind of going with this committee approach here in Washington after getting rid of Brian Robinson Jr. But I do think we will see Bill Krosky-Merritt more than people think after the depth chart was released yesterday or a couple days ago. Then we got to Wally Goozer. What a name right there, man. Says, technically, Jayden Daniels hasn't won a full 60-minute game against the Cowboys. Do you think Dallas still gives Washington trouble this season, even with Parsons gone? No, I don't. That defense is going to be absolutely terrible. I know they got Kenny Clark. He's probably their best defensive player. I know people like to say Deron Bland, but he's been very up and down throughout his NFL career. Trayvon Diggs is one of the easiest corners in the league to bait on double moves. I think he's extremely overrated. I like DeMarvion Overshown, but he's injured, and he's not going to be back until like midway through the season. That defense is terrible. I think that Jayden Daniels is not going to have any issue moving the football against him. And in terms of going up against Dallas, Marshawn Lattimore, you got a really good slot corner that can go up against CeeDee Lamb in the slot. I think the Commanders are built to play the Dallas Cowboys. So, maybe I'm going to eat my words here in a couple of weeks when we play the Dallas Cowboys in Week 7, but I really feel confident that the Commanders have what it takes to sweep the Dallas Cowboys this year. And in fact, not only them, but sweep the New York Football Giants as well. So you make the call for me down there in the comments section. How many wins will the Commanders have against divisional opponents this year? Of course, you play the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys twice For me, I'm going to go 5-1 for the Washington Commanders in the division, which I think is going to help propel them to an NFC East division championship. Now, before we get into the rest of today's questions here, guys, I want to give you a quick word from our sponsor today at Prize Picks. And both me and you, we both make decisions every single day. What to wear, what to have for breakfast, all that different stuff. But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. This week it's week 1, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in for the season opener on Thursday all the way through Monday Night Football. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature on Prize Picks that I absolutely love this season is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half with an injury and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Now, this video is going to be coming out on Saturday, but here is my Prize Picks projection for Thursday's season opener versus the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. I took the more on Dak Prescott passing yards. That's pretty much a free play. Then I'm taking the more on George Pickens receiving yards, taking the less on passing yards for Jalen Hurts, and the more on rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. You can download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, so now let's get into some more questions here. Starting with Pierce Clark says, do we feel good about the secondary because of Lattimore getting older? So listen, man, this is a big question mark for this team heading into the year. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Marshawn's getting older. He's had a lot of injuries, and I think another big question mark is not only, can he still maintain a high level of play at his age, but can he stay healthy? Because he hasn't been able to over the last several seasons. So that's the big risk with spending as much as you did to go get Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline last year, is that he's an injury-prone player. So hopefully he's going to be able to stay healthy. Hopefully he's going to be able to maintain a high level of play, because he's going to be tasked with going up against number 1 corners all season long. So, if this team wants to go the places that they want to go, if they want to shut down A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens on the outside, these really tough receivers to go up against in this division at the number 1 outside receiver spot, I think that Lattimore's going to have to step up. So definitely a guy to keep your eye on here in the early weeks. Then we got a $20 super chat from Eli Hokies fan. Says, how good is Jalen Lane after the preseason games? I think he still has a little bit of time that he needs to, cook in the oven a little bit as a receiving player. I think if somebody gets injured or in certain packages, you can throw him in there as a deep threat. But I think in year 1, his main role is going to be as a punt return specialist. He might be one of the best punt returners in the league here in 2025, guys. Like, this guy is dynamic with the ball in his hands in space. He's got great vision. He's got a really great track record as a punt returner. That's why the team took him, and hopefully he can develop into something more the more that he plays here in Washington. But heading into this season, it sounds like the main role for him is going to be as a punt returner, and I think he's going to be damn good at it. Then we got one from JG. Says, who will be our 3 toughest regular season opponents this season? So you got to include Kansas City on the road. All right, Kansas City on the road is going to be a really tough one. I will include the Los Angeles Chargers on the road as well. That's going to be a really tough football game. And then, why not? Let's go with the Green Bay Packers on a short week on the road with Micah Parsons, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. That's a tough football team, too, on the road on a short week to go up against after you play what I'm expecting to be a very physical Week 1 matchup versus the New York Giants in Week 1. So I would say those are probably the 3 toughest regular season opponents this season. We'll see on the Eagles, but I think it's actually a good thing the Commanders are playing the Eagles later in the season, because I kind of feel like Saquon Barkley is going to get banged up. I'm not rooting for it. I'm not rooting for an injury, but you look at the history of rushing leaders in the National Football League, the next year, their bodies just don't hold up. All right. So, Saquon Barkley has certainly been a guy with an injury history in his own right. So I think there's a decent chance Saquon Barkley doesn't play in either of those football games at the end of the season for the Eagles, which is obviously good news for the Commanders. But if Barkley's out there, the Eagles have to be on the list as well. Then we got one from Justin Klotz. says, do you think the Commanders will trade for another player? We'll see. We'll see how injuries play out. We'll see how, the different positions play out in the early part of the season. It's certainly possible that Adam Peters makes a move at the trade deadline like he did for Marshawn Lattimore last year. Peters is certainly not afraid to make a move like that if he feels the need to. But we'll have to see where this team is at the trade deadline, what their needs are, what players are out there, what do they cost. There's a lot of variables there, Justin. But I do think that the Commanders will be buyers once we get to the trade deadline. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, you watch every single one of our videos, you watch our watch parties, you do everything. You click the thumbs up icon, you've clicked that subscribe button. If you're a real one, let us know. Click that thumbs up icon. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. All right, then we got one from Eon here. It says, how many rush and pass yards does Little Bill get this year? We'll see what his role looks like, man. It's just so hard to nail down what kind of season he's going to have for sure, because it sounds like he's going to be a part of the starting rotation week 1 because he's in practice anyway. He's getting the number 2 running back reps behind Austin Eckler. So it sounds to me like he's going to be the team's number 2 guy in terms of total snaps to start the season, but he has been the best running back in Commanders training camp. So I kind of have a hard time believing that he's going to be held back from that number 1 role, very long. I think that by mid-season, he is this team's number 1 running back. He's got a chance to really make some noise as this team's number 1 running back once he takes over that role, and he can, catch the football as well out of the backfield. It's going to be interesting to see what Bill Krosky-Merritt is going to be able to do this year. But in terms of projecting how many yards, touchdowns, etc., it really just depends on how early Jacory Krosky-Merritt is able to take advantage of his opportunities and ascend to that number 1 role. We've got another one here from Pierce. It says, stat line prediction for JD5. I don't really love doing stat line predictions, guys, personally, but I'll say this, all right? He's my pick to win league MVP this year. All right, so whatever that takes, 50 total touchdowns, 45 total touchdowns, 5,000 yards, total whatever, he's going to be one of the most impactful players in this league if he stays healthy. Because, last year, he already was on that level. He carried a below-average NFL roster, in my opinion, to a conference championship game. And, this team was top 5 in rushing EPA, but in terms of running back rushing EPA, they were in the bottom half of the league. So he was carrying the run game last year. Of course, he's an awesome passer of the football as well. He does everything for this Commanders offense. So if he's able to do that again and make it go even better this season and take another step forward, I think you look at Jayden Daniels as probably the most valuable offensive or just player in the National Football League this year. So I hope he's able to do it. I'm going to be projecting him to do it, so hopefully he can prove me right. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Jayden Daniels win NFL MVP this year? I think so. I think there's a lot of great candidates. Even though I think he has the highest chance, I think that there's a lot of other great players that could win it out there. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Will Jayden Daniels win NFL MVP? That'll be it for today's and this week's Commanders Report mailbag. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. If you want to get a question on a future edition of the Commanders Report mailbag, we go live every Wednesday to get you guys ready for that week's Commanders game. And then we do our mailbag at the end of the live show. So if you guys want to get a question on the show, you guys can stop by. 5 p.m. Eastern time is when our live shows start on Wednesday. We really greatly appreciate your guys' support. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. All right, Ponzi, that is it for our segments today. And, man, it's been a long run. Now, you haven't been around for the long run here.
I have not.
But, I'm just thinking about where me and Joey Peterson were when we were sitting in these chairs last January, watching the Commanders absolutely get the brakes beat off of them by the Philadelphia Eagles. And now sitting here today, I can't say that the offseason necessarily went exactly the way that I thought it would, but I am definitely going into this season excited for what this season could be. You got Jayden Daniels, who I think has every opportunity to have as good or better of a second season as we saw from guys like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, who won league MVPs in their second seasons. You've got an offensive line that is much improved. You've got a run game that I am really excited about with Bill Krosky-Merritt looking like a 7th-round steal heading into the year. I'm really excited about Deebo Samuel and the element he's going to bring underneath to this Commanders offense. I'm excited about Terry McLaurin, hopefully being able to repeat what he was able to do last year with 13 touchdowns. I'm excited about this revamped cornerback room with Trey Amos being injected into that mix. Lattimore finally fully healthy. Jonathan Jones is a really good backup corner that can play inside or out if there's an injury. I'm really excited about this pass rush. Javon Kinlaw has been great all training camp. Von Miller, who's going to be a rotational pass rusher. I'm excited for this football team this year, Ponzi, and I think we're going to win a lot of football games together.
It's going to be a fun year here, and I'm really excited too for more so of being first season watching the Commanders together. Of course, my mom is a Commanders fan, so I have plenty of experience with the team, and they've had it worse.
Yes.
My mom's been through some pretty bad seasons, in her lifetime.
To actually go into a season with certain expectations it's just incredible. To have legitimate Super Bowl expectations that are actually realistic for the first time in God knows how long it's been here in Washington. It just feels so good, and this fan base very much deserves it. And I'm really hoping that this team can capitalize on that.
She said that this year was the most excited she's been since 2012, and even then, she couldn't be excited about that after the season because RG3 tore his ACL.
Yep, exactly.
So she said this was the most excited she's been to watch some Commanders football.
And we're really excited too, man. We're going to be live for every single game this year for the Washington Commanders. Joey Peterson is going to be helping us out on this channel quite a bit as well, so you guys will still see Joey on this channel, but it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Me and Ponzi, we've put in a lot of work to be able to make these watch parties and these videos as enjoyable as possible for you guys. And right now, I mean, we're on track easily to be over 50,000 subscribers by the end of the season. If they can go on a run here, Ponzi, we might even get up to like 75. That'd
be great.
Who knows how far we can take this thing this year. This is really where we make our bread here on the Commanders Report. To everybody that followed us here during this off-season journey, I want to personally extend my gratitude, man. It's been a hell of an off-season, from Deebo Samuel being traded to the draft to all the different stuff that happened here in Commanders Nation. It's been so much fun, man, and I am so excited to see what Jayden Daniels and this team is going to be able to put together this year, and it all starts Sunday, man. So that's going to be it for today's show. Me and Ponzi, we appreciate your guys' support. We will see you guys next time, and until then, hail to the Commanders.